Welcome to Truth Forum, a forum to discuss truth in the friendly surrounding like we do at home at the kitchen table. I'm your host, Dr. Smith. I have the license and the rights to perform the songs and the lyrics licensed by BMI. I will lead compelling, relatable, and honest conversations. My guests will range from community leaders, professionals, and real people whose stories will touch and inspire you. Discussion will center around relationships, real stories of personal struggles, amazing, triumphant, and compelling topics in the news. If you'd like to be a guest at the kitchen table, you may call us at 616-251-0523. Again, 616-251-0523. You may email us at kingdombuildersworldwide2@gmail.com and always visit us on the web. Before I introduce my guest to you, the wonderful, anointed, beautiful India Bowser, I'd like to thank my producers, Tiffany Smith, Ronnie Hoyt, Carl English, and Michael Campbell. Facebook Live recording artist, somebody doing that now. Camera, Yvonne Armstrong. Co-host Doug Jones, program coordinator Kara Bowden, and again, our guest, India Bowser. My vision is to catalyze, energize, and bring people together. I want to share some things that are extremely essential. If you're going to be successful in anything we do, we have to bring our ideas and knowledge and wisdom together. For there is no network unless we know who we are. It's time to reawaken African people. That's what I intend to do. That's exactly what they did in Africa. They'll sit down and they'll share their story so they could not repeat some of the same mistakes that have taken place. It is now storytelling time. We got to connect and let everybody know where we are and where we're going. I am honored and excited to introduce to you our guest, Miss India Bowser. Yes, here we go. All right. This is we're going to call this a joy and pain type of conversation because most of us understand that we're also going to deal with the topic that she lost her brother only at 22 years of age, and that was on March 23rd. So we're talking about still fresh and still in the minds of the family. And we're also going to talk about India and kind of talk about where we are from here and talk about some of the legal issues and see how they're doing personally. They have their mother is in the guest, Tracy Cummings, and then they have her sister also is in the audience also. So therefore, we're going to talk about some of those things. So before we do anything, India, just thank you for coming on the show and just give us a brief introduction of who you are, and then we'll continue on with our show.
Well, my name is India Bowser, and I was born and raised here in Battle Creek. I moved when I was 18, so I understood the community and the lack of opportunity, so I decided to jump ship and move around, and unfortunately I'm back here temporarily to assist my family through this tragedy that we're suffering at this time and seeking justice and holding people accountable with the assistance of you and everyone that's been rallying around us.
Right, thank you. Co-host Doug Jones, tell us who you are again.
Doug Jones, born and raised Battle Creek, Michigan. 3 beautiful young adults, 2 grandkids, and happy to be here.
All right. Well, let's first of all just kind of give everybody an opening. Joseph Edward Little Joe Bowser II died suddenly on Friday, March 23rd at the age of 22. Joe was born February 10th, 1996. Tracy Cummings and Joseph Bowser the first, good friend of mine. Now, I'm going to either deal with, from a psychological point of view, some of the stages of grief. I'm going to kind of talk to India, let her help me out where she thinks she's at, where she thinks her family's at. We're also going to kind of hold some people accountable that we've had conversations with numerous times. And just to start it, I want to first say grief is a multifaceted response to a loss. So when a person loses someone, man, my bags look tough. Maybe I need to put glasses back on. Wow. Okay. Sorry, audience, for my. Okay, that was on TV, isn't it? I'm sorry. Okay. Particularly the loss of someone had died, and what happens is you have what they call a bond or affection that was formed. So when you deal with grief, this is what happens. The person that you bonded with, and that person is now gone. That's one of the stage of grief, and a lot of people don't understand it from a psychological point of view. People can die, and everybody's deals with it differently based upon the bond that they had. So when I look at the age, India was born in 88, her brother was born in 96, there's an 8 years difference. So India, tell us first of all, the bond you had. And the reason why I'm gonna do it this way, we had Rosetta on the show, Doug, and Rosetta done a very, very great job on the show. However, I'm going to try to let everyone become very sensitive to why, if you have any knowledge of whatever, why? Because I'm going to kind of bring some things out this young lady that she may not even know is in her from more of a psychological side, because it affects people in so many ways. And so from the 8 years difference, what relationship did you have with Joe? And what we had with Joe? Go ahead.
Well, pretty much, I just remember exactly when he was born. I pretty much was like a second mother to him. Because of the large age gap, I was kind of, and I'm the eldest, so I was put in a responsibility type of role to, watch over my brother and my sister. And, every Saturday was dedicated to going to Joe's soccer game, football game. So, I mean, he was the baby, so we pretty much just, all of our attention was pretty much focused in on whatever he was doing, because he was doing so many things. And so because of the age gap, he kind of looked at me as far as like a authoritative figure, so he really didn't have an opportunity to kind of build a relationship when I left the house. I left the house when he was 10 years old. So at that time, I kind of, he was my little brother. He was kind of a pest a little bit, him and my sister. They kind of, I thought I was grown at that point, and I'm like, okay, y'all little kids, and I'm an adult at this point. That's why I felt. But I would say probably from 16 to 18 years old, Joe and I kind of formed a mutual respect for each other. I knew his, talents, how intelligent he was, and I kind of felt like some of the things that he was struggling with, I wanted to try to be the big sister and try to, rear him back into the right line. It wasn't anything outrageous, but just young men stuff, they get into stuff like that.
So what I want everybody to see is this. Because sometimes we attend funerals all the time, and it's very, very sad, obviously. But some people are really impacted, just because it's your cousin or your brother or even your parents. But when you have a bond, and I know that this young lady had a bond with her brother, not just the young lady, her sister, and also her mother and her father. And so when you start taking people's lives, you're not just taking a life, you're taking other people's life. And see, that's why it is important that in the conclusion of this show, I mean, I really don't care at this present moment, those that are aware of those doing the killing, the shooting, you got to understand you are putting this blood on your hand, not just the blood of Joe, but the blood of the two girls, the mom, the dad. You got to understand that. So we'll go a little further. Now, of course, there's 5 stages of grief, but we always add 2 extra ones from a philosophical point of view, which is shock and which is acceptance. What most of us are familiar with is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and this whole acceptance thing. But the shock, the shock. What? Explain to me, India, just the when I received the news. Obviously, wow, it was a shock. It was, and then of course I instantly called your mother. But when it got to you. Tell us everything.
Well, here's an interesting part of that. So I live in New York, and so I was actually planning on coming back home because I can honestly say I miss my brother and my sister, my mom and my dad, but primarily my brother and my sister, because we formed relationships over the years.
Coming home to visit? Or
to visit. Yeah, to visit. And so we we built a bond within each other. And so so I was, trying to think about that. But the night that it happened, I had a headache that would not go away. I had a migraine. I took aspirin. It just was throbbing. And my boyfriend, he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I have a headache. It just won't go away." I laid down. In my sleep, I felt the headache. And as soon as I got that call about Joe from my sister Lexi, it went away. I don't know if the pain of me losing my brother superseded the pain that I was having with, physically, but it really, it was miraculous, kind of. Like it just went away. I guess maybe I didn't think about it, but just to hear that call, I mean, never, ever, 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 ever in my life would I have ever dreamed, thought. I would bet everything I ever own, everything I'll ever gain, my life, that this would never happen to him. And so when I would receive the call, I could hear in my sister's voice that it wasn't a positive call, because normally she doesn't really call me, that early in the morning, because I know she normally works on the weekends. So for me to get the call and then just to hear her voice, is just, I didn't expect that to be her saying that Joe was gone. So, and then in the manner that he passed is just makes it worse.
Let me say this to the audience. There's a reason why I'm doing this, okay? Because some people may say, why are you rehashing and why are you making them go through all of this? Well, there's been a time space. You need to know the damage that is going on with this family. Because they can have an appearance of I'm okay, but they're not okay, all right? And so I'm doing this purposely. I'm putting it in your face because we are this small community, and you could be right at home crying your tears out. But until someone come together and start talking. So this is why I'm doing this. And I picked India because I think India is probably the most stronger one, maybe, from this perspective. But that's the reason. So it's not a situation where, why are you doing this to this young lady? It's because you all need to understand that when this day is over, they still got to realize that Joe is never coming back. No matter how painful that is painful. And so therefore, we're now trying to use the approach to get you to understand. So again, let's get back to this whole shock, this paralysis. So India, who was the first person after your sister called you? What did you do? Did you call anybody? What did you do, India?
Well, I mean, my first reaction was to throw my phone. I threw my phone and I ran. And I don't know if anybody know about being in New York City, my apartment is not that large. So I just ran to the next room and I just cried and I screamed and my boyfriend didn't know what was happening to me at the time. He's like, "What's going on?" And I'm just like, "My brother." And he's like, "Your brother?" And then it's just like, it's just indescribable. And then especially with me being so far away and not necessarily feeling like I could be there for my mom or be there for my dad, be there for my sister. So it kind of felt like a helpless type of feeling as well, because again, I didn't know any details of, I know she said that someone had killed him. So I didn't know how how did they kill him? Was he there, alone, and what time did this occur? There's just so many unanswered questions that happen, whys and hows, and and then me trying to figure out arrangements to, okay, I need to get home. So it's just like, it wasn't nothing I could do, and the first thing I said was, if God took Joe off of this earth, he has something major in store. That was one of the first things I said. For him to take such a promising, caring, loving young man that was here trying to live his life positively, and for him to be stripped by a person that is most likely not a quarter of what a type of man he was, and for them to go and take him from our family, our community, he is something greater because he was better than that.
So India, I didn't have a chance to really know you. So your mom and your sister was coming to the church, is coming to the church, and then I knew your dad very, very well. So the first thing you said was God. So why did you? What made you connect that God thing?
Well, it's just that it has to be something higher than what we are dealing with right here, on earth. And I'm not going to say that I wasn't spiritual, but I had never felt it before, felt the presence. I never felt, okay, I've always grown up believing in God and, and going to church, but I never experienced it myself. So for me to say that, and then kind of, for me to even, because I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to make it. I don't know how I'm going to get on the airplane. I cried the entire time. I'm just like, I just don't understand how me physically can get to this point. How can I physically get to even a funeral? Like, how can I even face my mom? Like, those were things that it had to be something carrying me to get me to that point. And it really just showed me and restored, I didn't lose my faith, but it kind of just said, okay, here you go. Here's your proof. I did this for you. I got you through X, Y, Z, and I'm showing you what I can do. And it just really just made my faith so much stronger to see that something I never would have imagined I would have gone through, to even prepare myself for that. And for me to go ahead and say, I can't do nothing, and be able to make all these different strides.
So we're going to go back to some of those steps of grief, but then I want to go back. I saw, and I'm not calling you out, sir, because you posted it. And so, because we're going to ask the question, what can politicians really do? Because I've been elected official before, and I know what my parameters were. So Dave Morgan, who's running for 2nd District, he came to the event when it was held at the church. And I saw a picture, sir, of you and India and Joseph and was it Alexis or
Yep.
was Tracy in it?
No, it was Alexia.
Alexia. Did I say it wrong or something?
No,
I'm trying to keep it nice. I won't want to start crying, so I got to keep it balanced. So once in a while, I got to say something to keep us from being, hurtful. So Alexia. So, okay, cool. No problem, Dave, and I'm for sure you're watching. And so you put out here, I'm going to read it verbatim. So today I ask your help because together we can make a difference. Nothing could be harder than losing a child. But when your child is murdered and people in the community know who did it, yet remain silent, the pain is to be unbearable. This is exactly what my almost lifelong friend Joe Bowser and his family are going through. So I didn't know you knew Joe that well, but this is fine. So their son, Joe Bowser II, was murdered, and yet people chose to remain silent. Some would call you a snitch or worse if you came forward, but most would call you a hero. Most would call you a man for standing up for what is right. We all need to stand up for not only our community, but for every child, every family, for what is right, even when many times it could be one of the hardest things we have had to do in our life. So let's stand up for the Bowser family and help bring the person responsible to justice. May God bless the Bowser family and every family who has lost a loved one. If you have any information at all or know of someone who might, please call the Silent Observer. The number is 269-964-3888. Please share and make a difference. So I saw that, and I respect that. Okay, now, but my question becomes, you have a really, really, really good opportunity to become the 62nd District. Okay, the letter was great. You had tons of people from a different community, the white community, and they always liking what you said. I need to know, how can you meet with this family, posting great, but what can you do, or what can the judges do? What can the legislatures do? I mean, we're talking about FBI. We're talking about trying to get police officers to respond expeditiously. What can you all do besides the posts? Because when I see posts, and I'm being personal, I haven't talked to the family. If I see people posting about Joe during the election season, and we're not really coming up with a plan, then I'm going to come very forward like I'm doing right now. And Dave, hey, I got your back. But I need to know what's the game plan. So my question to you is, when you saw that post, did you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So what was your, well, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
Well, I actually reposted it.
Okay.
And I tagged myself in the picture because of the outreach. I feel like at this point, any ears that will, or eyes that will see this post, we just need as many people viewing this. And I didn't necessarily look at it from the aspect of, oh, well, maybe he's, it's election season and maybe he's trying to, gain voters. But I just looked at it from a perspective as far as just, okay, we need this to still be in people's face. We need people to still care. So I didn't view it from that perspective.
And neither did I. However, you do agree, if he has some connection,
yes, for sure,
he should.
Yes.
And that's what we want from
Yes.
you, Mr. Morgan. What we're asking from you is, since you are the only one that responded, no, I commend you for that. No one else done it. The one that you're running against didn't say a word. No one said a word. We haven't heard anything from anybody. So thank you for that. But we want to know, what can you do next? That is our concern in our community. We have already sat down and we talked with the chief, and we've talked to different detectives. But the reality is, it was in March, correct?
Correct.
April, May, June. Now, this is a concern that we're having, and if you all agree, we can talk about it. There's 5 steps to solving a murder. Document everything in the murder book. I'm assuming we've done that. Nail down the timeline. I'm not sure if that timeline was yet clear. So, well, Bishop, why are you doing it? That's our job. Well, our job is to know what you're doing. Why? Because we don't know. This lady here, her whole world changed. She left New York. Mom was in Lansing. Daughter, Kalamazoo, where her brother went to school. Somebody's world is shattered. And all we're asking you to do, or those who have the authority, what's the timeline? Then follow every lead. I mean, India has said many times, first of all, you will get phone calls, people. If you know anything, you're going to get a call. If there's a private investigator, we're going to do all we can, but we got to find out leads. So if you get a phone call, you might as well answer the call, because we are going to do everything we can to get all the leads. Those are steps. Then treat everything as evidence. I'm not sure we've done that. But this is our bottom line. Perseverance. That's India's concern. That's the mom concern. That's Daddy Joe's concern. That's Lexi's concern. Perseverance. Did we give up? What's your feeling about how your hometown is dealing with this? Do you feel like the passion is leaving, and if it wasn't for our little circle, it would have just been another black, wonderful kid dead and gone? What's your thought about that?
Well, the community isn't doing anything that they haven't done in the past. I mean, I'm expecting the unexpected for people to come forward, to step up and do the right thing. Now, what is the X factor out of Joe's situation is our family and our support from you. I will not allow someone that took my brother from me and my family to walk these streets of Battle Creek, small Battle Creek, and not try to do something about it every single day. Whether it's me just trying to get in contact with the detective, following up with Facebook stuff, and that's pretty much what my task is at this point.
Doug, I want to bring you in. By you being one of the managers at Kellogg's and involved with some of the community, basketball coaches and all that, what can you do just from that circle. We were dealing with this community, but then there's some people that in high places. If it's just for funds or just to be able to purchase, just. Plus, I want you to say something. So, good question.
Well, I was thinking about, the whole thing, and, Battle Creek is not a very big community, and sometimes when we have, murders and things that happen in Battle Creek, it's almost like, and this is from my perspective, that when they get to a point where they can't go any further, they give up. And maybe sometimes bringing another set of eyes in or bringing another resource in. I don't know if, and again, this is just my perspective, it almost seems like, do we have the right people in place to do the job? Do we have the right investigators? Do we have the right persistence? And it almost seems like it gets stale and gets stagnant. And do we wait 3 or 4 or 5 years from now to say, oh, this is a cold case, let's bring it back up again? Cold cases are solved all the time. They don't have to go cold. It always takes, sometimes it takes that one person that wasn't involved, or that person that was involved that you missed something, or you didn't see something, or go back and check. But as a community, we have to stop acting like it's okay to not say something. It's happened way too many times, and when it affects that person or when it affects their family, then it's a different story. It's gone on too long, way too long.
Well, I haven't been back too long, but I've noticed that there's a problem with underreported gunfires. And so one of my concerns, gunfire is vastly underreported. Nearly 8 out of 10 times when someone fires a gun. Think about this. 8 out of 10, when someone fires a gun, the police never respond because they are unaware of the incident. Now, I get the phone call. I go straight to the scene of the crime. I don't have this answer. I'll ask India, or maybe Joe can tell me. I really can't remember because it's very, very foggy. But when police don't arrive at the scene, Doug, of the crime, it continues to fuel this negative perception about law enforcement. Now, unless I was wrong, I don't know how quick they got there, because I can't remember. Do you? I know you were one in town, but does anyone remember that? It just seemed like things take so long, and so instead of me pointing fingers, and I've been doing a lot of research, especially since this situation. So I've been doing some research. There's a lot of cities that have what they call SPOT or SHOT, spotter, city combating gun violence, where they have this whole system now where you can detect gunfires accurately, protect the officers, and also protect individuals and bring awareness. Because how you have a gunfire take place at Rivers apartment, somebody heard it, nobody know anything, and when the police get there, it's like a dead issue. So what I'm going to implement, the reason why I brought you, the reason why we mentioned your name, Dave, is because as a potential legislator, I really want you, because I noticed they have it in Boston, they have one in some other areas like Chicago. We want on this table to be the first to implement, I don't care, whoever the officials are, we need to create a gun spotting combat system where, and I'm sorry, all you shooters, once that get in place, it will give us a better idea of where these guns are being shot at. And if you are in that position of power, now you may say, well, hey, Bishop, that's not my area. I'm only going to be in this district. But I know there's someone who makes those decisions, because that's what we have to do, India, and to the family. We got to come up with some alternatives and some solutions.
Right.
Because obviously, they're going to stay where they are. And it is what it is. So now let's go back to this grief thing, because one of the things that I notice affects everybody is that thing called bargaining. And the bargaining is when you seek a way to say, if I. We've all did that. Joe was working at the church, and I said, if I, but it just said, man, stay a little longer. That's what's killing us, and that's what I want. I want the family to overcome this, and all of you that have lost your loved ones. Man, if I could just help you to get your FIs out the way, because the reality is your if would not have changed anything, even though we do it all the time. So this is not just to help India or her family, but you that's watching us. We have this thing called, before you lose something, it seems like if I could have done something, it could have spared his life or her life, or if I can bargain. And then you start making promises like, I'll never be angry at my wife again, just let her live, or I'll never beat up my little brother, just let him live. Those are the bargaining things we do in life, and that's what I want us to get free from. Did you have any of those if-I moments, India?
Sure, of course. Like he visited me in New York back in the summer, and I was really just talking to him about, what his plans were after graduating. But I guess I did do okay. If I would have done, maybe I would have tried to convince him to come stay with me. But I feel like I did a lot of that just persistently. Okay, what are you doing for spring break? Maybe you should go. We have family in Houston. Maybe you should go to Houston. Maybe you should come here. I always try to get him out of this element, because I knew that it's just so many obstacles and so many people trying to pull you down, because he was special, and people knew that about him. And unfortunately, people that appear to be your friends, they're not necessarily your friends. They want to see you bad like them, jobless and can't stay in school. And he was doing really, really hard work in his engineering program. And for him to do that and still kind of keep it cool like he was, a lot of people probably envy that. And I knew, when he was having some issues over the summer, that people really wasn't feeling where the way he was moving. So yes, I did say, okay, if I would have, maybe I could have been more, influential with him, and maybe I could have done that. But I've kind of accepted the fact that I tried to do as much as I could. So I didn't really struggle with the bargaining part of grief that much. Yeah.
Not to make you a psychologist, but if you had to say where your mom was at, you got shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Where would you say mom is at right now?
Right now, I don't know. I guess because I don't necessarily believe in the stages of grief. I feel like it's not necessarily in that order. It's days where, me personally, because I can't speak for my mother, I know days where she probably feels shocked. I know days she's depressed. I know days she's upset. So. And
it does do that. That's exactly what it does.
Yeah.
It doesn't just say one thing, but you.
Yeah, it's like a cycle. It's not necessarily like a step, because it's days where I just can't believe it, and it's times where I forget that this even happened. You just kind of just going about your day, and it just hits you like, my brother's not coming back, and people don't necessarily understand when you take someone's life. You're not just changing that person's life. They're not here, so they're not going to feel any of the impact of their life being gone. It's everyone else that's around them. Like Bishop said, my whole life has kind of been shaken upside down just off of the fact that my brother, not my mother, not my father, not my husband, my brother. So just imagine, what my mom feels, So it's just very unfortunate, but these stages of denial, because like I said, some days I'm in denial. I know my mom feels the same way, and depressed, angry. But I'm more angry getting that anger.
And I think that's why I'm working with you. I want you to be angry. So why would you say that? Well, the Bible says be angry and sin not. Sometimes you need that anger attribute to keep fighting. I'm angry about stuff constantly. That's what, see, the problem is we get too comfortable. The Bible says be angry, but sin not. That is a personality a lot of us don't have. Because of the mere fact that you just gave up. So I want you to stay angry. And so that's part of it. It's frustrating. I'm angry, so I want to continue to talk to the police officers. So I want all the officers to know and the city officials to know the Bowser family is not going away because they're still angry. So I want to ask then, if you were your detective, you're the detective, what would you ask your staff to do that you feel they're not doing? You're the detective of this case.
Well, I worked for a large corporation for a lot of years. And a lot of times, if we weren't performing at our capabilities, we would seek outside help or we would be trained. And unfortunately, I don't know what's going on in the Battle Creek Police. I understand that they do, they are trying to help us out, but I don't necessarily know if they have the resources to solve this crime because it's so circumstantial, and or the relationship or the rapport to go out and really get to people that need to talk. Because I don't want to just all put it on the police because they have been helpful. It's people that had built relationships with Joe, that went to school with him, seen him around his whole life, and for them to not say anything, I feel like there needs to be they need to take more accountability as well. I heard someone getting rumors that they're not going to solve the case because Joe is black.
But you said that on camera. Let me hear what you just said. Now, y'all, she's been gone, okay? So, hey, she's been gone. She don't have no axe to grind. She ain't trying to. Sometimes whites get offended thinking somebody's attacking you. No one's attacking anyone. We're only dealing with facts. And so this is what she heard. So go ahead and say that again in your camera right there.
Yes, so just getting a lot of rumors, because that's what I've been dealing with lately. I heard a rumor that said someone that was very close to Joe, extremely close to Joe, said that the Battle Creek Police would not solve his case because he's black.
So
it almost makes me think that, and that may be true for some people, I don't think they know how to solve it, in my opinion. You look at TV shows, you see how things work. I'm not saying this is real life, and just the persistence of an investigation, and the consistency. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Maybe they don't have the resources to go
let me
ahead
ask
and
this
solve
question,
Yeah.
y'all, and that's good thought. If you're watching us on Facebook, can you Google and let me know when was the last time the Battle Creek Department solved a crime? Black crime.
You can't find it. They don't. I try to look up a lot of statistics. They're not. You can't find them. They're very difficult to find, and maybe that's in there. They don't want to have that information out there. But I just honestly feel like they just don't have the resources.
Tatiana, is anybody on Facebook saying something? All right. I really want to know. I really want the city of Battle Creek, and this doesn't have to be a black thing, whites, because a child's life is a child's life. Doesn't matter who you are. No, doesn't matter what your nationality. So we got to work together. Dr. King made it very clear. If you do nothing, you're just as guilty as the perpetrator or the one that committed the crime. So the question becomes, can we as a community come together in petition form? Will y'all rally with me? I'm throwing it out for the first time. I'm throwing it out for the first time on June 3rd, before India go back to New York. We have city commissioner. Who's the city commissioners, Nikki? Who's our city commissioner? Lynn Ward Gray. Okay? And then we have someone named who? I got my little earpiece in. I can't hear y'all loud enough. What we want to do is we want to come to the city hall. I want to bring as many people I can. And we want to just show up. We'll do it right. We'll find out where there's a public time, because I realized when I was involved, every other Tuesday, whatever, you can talk or you can't talk. We want to come during the time where we can talk. I want how many people is willing to join us to attend a city council meeting. And now listen, you can respond privately, you can respond on Facebook. Are you willing just to come? We're not going to say anything. We may have India or somebody. All we want to do is ask that one question. We need more help, not just for the Bowser, but for all these other parents that's been crying out. If you're willing to join us, please let us know and just, hit us up, respond, say, Bishop, yep, I'll do it. We want to get a petition signed and get enough signatures by showing, hey, we got 1,000 signatures. And we just want to know, what are y'all doing? If we don't hold people accountable, then we really can't get the job done.
Yeah, because we can't even forget it was a young man that was murdered a few weeks after Joe. In his case, it appears to still be unsolved. So it's just really unfortunate that, we are honing on this no snitching attitude, but whose community is being impacted by this code that we're living by? There's the people that started it, I'm pretty sure they're Italians. And I mean, they appear to be, they stuck together. They're not murdering each other.
Nope.
All this black on black crime is just ridiculous. And it's gonna continue and it's gonna fester if we don't step up as a community and hold those people in place accountable. The politicians, people that are really making decisions, they really need to say, okay, enough is enough. Okay, we need some training. We need XYZ. We need people in here to, facilitate, speaking with, dealing with people and building relationships with people in the community that have voices like you and others. Why aren't there more Tino Smiths in this community? So it really is something that it's a big, huge task. It's bigger than Joe, but we definitely have a lot of work, and we just need to have some accountability within ourselves and say, okay, we're allowing this code to destroy our community. Why? And what are we trying to do to stop it?
Now, we're not going to sidetrack on this thought, but I did say that Joe seed in the ground has produced some positive things. Not meaning it's going to heal mom or siblings, but it's doing some things that I think is amazing. And because he was such a special young man, the seed in the ground is producing a lot of light. He also has a beautiful young sister, Alexia, that I'm just fond of. I mean, I will call them my daughters, but since Joseph, like, my good friend, I don't want him to get all mad at me. So I'll just say spiritual daughters, but man, why? She's just, anyway. So I saw her one day at work, and I said, well, how are you doing? And she said, well, you know what, Bishop, I'm doing a little better. I'm back to work. But you know what? I just see a lot of good. Now, can you imagine someone who lost her brother and then she's able to find something good? Are you seeing this concept? So I began to look further, and I'm thinking about her sister India and her mom. People like Lynn Bay's mom, when he died, it was basketball. She became great speakers and all of that. And I said this to you before, India, that there's something unique about you, special about you. What kind of cause could you start that could maybe become a full-time organization where the foundation, the foundation, maybe you all want to fund her organization, okay? Since you can't get into that stuff, maybe you want to help fund this lady's organization with the 501c3 to help. What would you do? What if the foundation gave you an annual budget of $100,000? What would you do to maybe make sure someone else don't go through this kind of pain?
I just really feel like I would probably just capture some of the younger youth. I know when I was growing up in elementary school, we had Girls to Women, and that really was a program that just gave us a lot of information that didn't necessarily come from our parents, but came from people of, a mentor status. Programs like that in our community, because there's not enough positive figures. And I'm going to speak to what you were talking about in church today as far as this music and, putting violence out there that they're not leading. They're not shooting people, but they're putting that in people's ear to say, okay, I'm going to shoot you up and do this X, Y, Z. they're listening to that. These kids they believe in that, and they're honoring that, but they're not honoring themselves. They're not honoring their community. But so maybe more positive for young men and young women, after school programs, et cetera, stuff like that.
Okay. I had someone. I made the statement in our altar prayer about, and again, I get a lot of folks that respond to me privately, but they won't never give me their name. So this is probably good information. I should have probably consulted my daughter before I made that statement, but this didn't come from my daughter, it came from somebody else. I said that we're going to try to get prosecutors to help maybe lessen the sentence if people can come forward and confess, because maybe they're afraid to acknowledge they did something because they may have a life sentence. Someone sent me this. It says, someone advised me that confessing would result in a longer sentence than making a plea deal. It will potentially result in a longer sentence than typical. When the defendant pleads not guilty and is going to go through trial, the DA has an incentive to offer a plea deal. It will potentially result in a longer sentence than typical. When a defendant pleads not guilty and is going to go through the trial, the DA has an incentive to offer plea deals. When the defendant has confessed, there's typically little work for the DA to do and is essentially guaranteed a conviction. So with that information, I was basically being told that it's going to be hard to get someone to confess it, but they said it's the responsibility of the judicial system to get them in. So we're back at that. We were trying to come up with a creative way of how we can just get them in, but if this is correct, and there's many lawyers that may have different thoughts or opinion, but what is causing these individuals not to come forward? Now, do we still have our number, our hotline number? Tell us about our hotline number. What is it again?
The Silent Observer.
Yes.
So we still have a reward out for $2,000 for anyone that can give any information, whether it's if you know about a gun or any type of evidence. Call the Silent Observer number, and if you give information that leads to an arrest and conviction, then you'll get paid out for the reward. But it's just like they're getting a lot of the same information, the rumors that have been ciphering since March 24th. So, I mean, if you have some new information or, there's a lot of rumors about potential videos and things like that. If you've seen a video, you heard about a video, you need to report it. In anything that you may have saw, it's your human duty to do the right thing. And if you've seen something that could potentially put someone that took someone's life away, what type of person are you? You're just as guilty as they are.
Now, most people that have committed a crime is all money related. It got something to do with money. So we got $2,000 on the table. And to some of you all ballers, that's not enough. So I'm just curious, how many people can we get to join in? And you literally just write the whole check right to the name of the people. We want to increase. I hate the fact that I got to do this to our own community, but sometimes it's going to take money, because it's money that got us in trouble. It's the money that caused folks to kill each other. Money makes you do crazy stuff. And so, Doug, because I got to keep in the conversation, what you think about us trying to get churches, community organizations, stores, department stores, to help give like $100 or $1,000 so we can increase this award just to get people just to start calling? What you think? Is that something? Is that something you think is feasible? Do you think the Kellogg would do something like that, or that's out of their parameters? What you think about that? All these ideas just spin in my head while I'm talking to Sister Angela Davis.
Well, I really can't answer that question about if Kellogg would or would not.
Right.
But I know that businesses in Battle Creek, this is their community also. And this is not just a Bowser problem. This is not just our problem. This is everybody's problem.
Correct.
And it seems like if we all just came together like we should, we can get a lot of things accomplished. There's this great divide here in Battle Creek. And some call it the young and the old, some call it, the groups of the young that are divided. But, what does it take for us to come together? is it that hard for everybody to see the same thing, you know, and have the same common goal? There's a lot of different things we can do in the community to try to bring everybody together.
Okay.
But I commend you on what you're doing. You're trying. And it just seems so hard to get everybody on the same page. And why? Because it wasn't like that when we were growing up. Everybody was a community. We were a community, you know. And now all of a sudden it seems like it's north, south, east, and west. You know, you got yours, I got mine. You know, the haves and the have-nots. You know.
Well, we want to increase that. We want to increase that the fee. Is it India that if you just give information, what allow you to get the money?
Well, you have to have information about the crime. So say, for instance, you know the suspect and they told you that what they did, because I'm pretty sure they're talking.
Okay.
I know they are. I know you out there, you're bragging to your friends and your crew. So if you heard anything regarding evidence, regarding, you know, the crime itself, call the number and the police will vet your information. If it's not already a rumor, they've already heard.
And all the private investors out here listening to us, and anybody that just love to sow into people's lives, why don't you support me and support this family so we can maybe increase it to at least 3,000 by the 15th of June and increase it again another 1,000 by the end of June. And maybe, you know, we have to do whatever we can. It will be good for the city if we can make this happen. Because at the end of the day, as Deacon Jones did say, it's a community thing, but at the same time, it's personal to us because I'm around them all the time, and it's just a reality. So, city, let's come together, because the sad thing about it, it could be you. And the same love you want us to give to your family, you can do to us right now. Do unto others that you will have them do unto you. We have about 7 minutes left. Give us your last words, DJ, you'd like to say, and last words you'd like to say, India, before we dismiss.
I'm going to give India her time. Go ahead.
So I just want to touch point on our meeting that we had with the chief, and even the conversation that I had with one of the detectives. And I just feel like there's a lot of, I don't want to disturb any relationships that we have, but it just appears that there's no accountability being taken. So I heard a few times, well, it doesn't mean that we don't solve case because we don't give the information to the prosecutor. Did they say that? So it's like, okay, well, it's not us. It's the prosecutor. We give them information. Right. Well, the thing about it is, yeah, the prosecutor can go ahead and prosecute someone. I mean, it probably will help restore some of the faith that we have in the city as far as, you know, just getting people in the courtroom. So, you know, you did this crime, you know, maybe that would help. But it's a team effort, you know. It's the police and the prosecutor. They have to work together, the DA. They have to work together to get these people in the courtroom. And unfortunately, it appears that information that you're giving to the prosecutor isn't good enough. And I refuse to allow my brother to die in the manner that he died and nothing happened. He was a model victim.
Right.
I mean, quote unquote. You know, no one's death is better than the other. No one's better than the other person. But he was a really good person, regardless of, you know, he was a young man and he wasn't perfect, but he was a good-hearted person on the right path to do well in his life, regardless of what his color was. And unfortunately, the people that are working in the police, all the detectives that we've spoken to and dealt with, they're not our color, you know. So it's maybe a relatability issue. It's just so many issues that are breakdown within the community, the police, and law enforcement, and the prosecution. It's just a disconnect between the three, and we just need to come together and figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I do want to say one thing, Bishop. There are people that are making comments on Facebook, and because I have my phone on, and in the future, I do want to be able to read the questions and some of the comments people have.
Can you do one real quick?
Do one real quick.
What I got? What I have left, y'all? 5 minutes? Go ahead, DJ. Give me a question.
Well, I'm going to read one from Rochelle Hatcher. Hi, Rochelle. She says, how do we make the local police department accountable to close this case.
Okay. And those are things we're going to do, Rochelle. Thank you for your comment. Part of that is, Rochelle, we're looking for you and other people in the community. We want to go and attend a city hall. That's where the police department works out of. We just want the community to know that, we want them to know we're very, 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 very passionate about this, and we need to move and close real quickly.
But let me just speak to accountability. So say you work at McDonald's and you are on fries and you burning the fries. You're the manager, whoever's on duty is gonna say, hey, you're not doing the fries right. Okay. You come back, you still burning the fries. Okay. Now it's the manager's issue, because why are you having this person on fries is burning fries all the time? Okay, so then the owner, it's et cetera, et cetera. It's the people that are in charge. Those are the people that need to hold these people accountable. And if they're not doing that, then they're failing the city, the people that are here to do that.
Unfortunately, our time is up. Listen, y'all, you hear the heart of a young lady. You can feel it. I feel it. That's why I'm here. This is so much more than just a situation. This is family. And listen, y'all, we got to do this thing right. We want to attend the City Hall meeting. I need you all to just chime in and say, yes, Bishop, we'll go. I always end the show acknowledging my ancestors. I always acknowledge my father parents, Edward West Smith and Gussie Smith, and the great late Hugh Smith Sr. Also, I always acknowledge my mother's side of the family, the late Leo Del Perry Sr. and Ruby Elizabeth Perry. And of course, my beloved mother, who is alive and well, Georgia Howard Perry. Listen, y'all, we have to continue to work together. We have to know what time it is, we have to know what space it is, and we have to know our present time. Today, y'all, we got to work together. Let's pray. And we got to keep praying for the Bowser family and praying for our community, because the change will come, but you got to speak up and deal with it and let truth stand. That's what Martin Luther King said. Father, we thank you. We bless you. We appreciate the energy that you're giving India in the midst of her holding back tears, in the midst of standing in the midst of adversity. Keep giving her the strength that she needs, and carry that strength over to mama, to sister, to dad. And we'll give you praise and we'll give you glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can.
AccessVision, your voice, your community.